Hey, how's it going? So, making this video, I feel slowly get comfortable in front of the camera. I'm making this video because I've been like processing the world around me a lot, and so I was born in 2002, October 23rd, and and when looking into into Canada, into the millennium, and into what's next for our country, right? Like, what's next for our country? Let's just start there. And so, Pierre Poilievre is our future. I think he's going to be our best candidate for whenever it comes, and the polling is showing that. And we know that Poilievre kind of goes on to the silent majority type thing to pull his thing. So, even if polling wasn't looking in their favor, which it is, the chance, I would feel more that it's going to become, trying to think of the right word for it. It's just not going to be accurate. Trying to do an accurate polling of some rural, just not easy. They don't answer polls. I talk about this stuff with my girlfriend. I talk about it with my family and stuff like that. And the thing is, I get this sense there's like a nihilism in Canada, and that our future isn't bright, but our future is very bright. Our future is very bright as Canadians. And so I started playing back. Basically, all I've been doing in the last two of my videos is I've just been playing back the history that I know and the media that I've consumed, and what does it all mean? Because I think what people touch on, and I think we're kind of in this fourth turning generational cycle, moving of the shifts between left and right, and where does that standard meet? And I think just trying to collect my words here, but something very big is changing. Like, the United States is it's now abandoning idealism, moving towards realism, and I think there's a natural evolution there. I think China has really put the pressure on all the middling countries and abused their sense of idealism, that America kind of needs to take the realms back on that. Now, the benefit of the global system that we've created, though, is that other countries can take that over. And so what does this mean for Canada? Like, for example, the European Union can focus on Russia. I know they're signing a peace deal now soon, but even if it isn't a full peace like some people think, we'll get what we want eventually. We'll get what we need there eventually. Well, they'll get bogged down in so many conflicts. The European Union will drop whatever laws they have to. They'll keep them there, or they'll buy out Putin, which is probably how I would imagine it happened. And so I think that's what happened there. But then what's going to happen now is America reorients towards China, which is why I also see them doing something with Venezuela. However, we have lost about 500,000 people, more than the World War II, to fentanyl. And so, whatever, I'm not really going to comment on that too much. But, so as America does that, though, what is the role for Canada? Like, what do we do now in the next millennium, in the next 21st century here as modern people? What do we do? And the answer is, at the end of the day, there's always a spiritual component to this. And that's always going to be here. And there's always going to be this good, and there's going to be this evil. Something we're moving away from, and something we're moving towards towards to. And so if we're talking about Canada, and what are we moving towards is the real question. And I think Poilievre is the answer to that. I think he's the answer to that. But I would just want people to pay attention, though, for a minute here. Of course he is. His criticism is that the Liberals are a bunch of the criticism of the government still being around is that they're party insiders, and of course they are. So but he was the youngest member, Pierre, elected to Parliament, and he was around back when the Stephen Harper days in 2001. When this happened before. And so, in the New World Order, you gotta remember, when was that set? Was it set 2001, the start of the new millennium? No. It was set with George Bush, right? And when they decided to play the Nixon card or whatever. But now we're seeing the reverse Kissinger strategy, right? So the world is reorienting and readjusting. And you know, I think something people lack the ability to understand here is this. It's that so in Canada here, we have a massive problem, right? Because, what's also caught my eyes to this and why I've been paying attention to all this is in Canada, lots of young people support Poilievre. Why? Well, they support Poilievre because he's the only one who's been on brand, on message, consistently. And because of that, and we also know that the youth vote is going to be the most important one here in this next election. And so it almost guarantees him a win. And so that's great. I think we all, as conservatives, can do a victory lap. But what else does that mean besides just a victory lap of, oh, okay, that's great, we're the best. But it has to mean more than that, right? And so what I would say is that what's going to be I would say that truthfully what we're going to have to do is as conservatives we have to start making media. We have to start promoting Canadian conservatism. We have to define what does it mean to even be Canadian. That needs to be defined. And there's a lot of bullshit said about this. And I feel like I have to say something. And I'm not doing this for attention, but I feel I have to say something because I feel I have a duty to say something. I feel like if I've woken up and I've seen this, I can't not say anything. I must speak the truth. And I want to say, that is the message of all this. That's my message to all of you. Speak the truth. Ask questions. Assess things. Is this true? Is it not true? What is it based on? What are the facts? There's also space throat. That's an emotional reaction. And this is we could say, there's like emotional reactions, then there's a logical part of your brain, right? But you can overdo it in either direction, a left and right. Funny we have that in politics. It's not, though. Of course we do. And 1984 is a very good book to read because it really helps define how does other people in the world look at us. Because these terms mean different things in different places. And, important thing also to cover real quickly too, Western culture. What is Western culture? It's not exactly Western. And, it's not even really one culture. It's a culture built on multiple cultures. It's built up of people, and they all represent their culture. And I think, too, what's happened since the Second World War is we see the perverse sense of postmodernism, to a sense. And, it's probably one of the great evils of the world. It gets rid of meaning from the picture. And, meaning is super important to us. I think, at the end of the day, if I had one message to people, when you're looking at these people who are like neo-Nazis or obsessed with their politics, it's because they're looking for connection. Truthfully, that's what I was searching for. Now, I've consumed enough of the right media, and not even right media, and I don't even really fully know, but I have a far better understanding of this world to me. The world makes sense to my eyes. I understand what's going on here. And I'm not looking for that sense of meaning anymore. I've woken up. And so the whole sense of wokeism, is that going to go away? No. Oh, it's not going to go away? Of course not. Because people always go in perverse directions with this stuff. Those will wake up. Some will wake up and go in a weird direction. And some will wake up like me and will go in this other direction. And I just want to contribute to that. And I want to help people to understand that, that this world is positive, man. There's a lot of good in this world. I'll be honest with you. As dark as it might seem to people and as terrible as it might seem to people, and I just go to my room to buy furniture, and the banks are whatever the fuck, whatever your thing is that you like to think that the source of all your problems are, or that the modern world is so terrible and we should go back to living where in the forest, where I don't know, but they have somewhere in their mind they want to go. It's because they're searching for meaning, and they just haven't found one. And so then they latch on to these nihilistic views, because nihilism much like a delusional sense of a utopianism, is comforting. It gives you an explanation to all your problems. But just like now in this moment here that I am in, I can promise there is no solution to all the problems. And if I could tell you anything of the world, of what was the intention of drawing the map like this and creating the world that exists today? Well, first of all, I can say this. The world's been discovered. Thank God for that. Every country's on the map now. People should have a nationality. Everyone has a nationality. I know there's exceptions, but we're going with the majority right now. So everyone has a nationality. Everyone's accounted for, right? There's a government who's got to be incentivized to look out for somebody now. Somebody is responsible. Now, does it always work? No, obviously not. But you get my point. And so, that's good. Now, does it solve everything? No. And people still divide themselves over ethnic, religious, whatever, tribal lines. There's a really great Albert Einstein quote about this, how the Third World War won't be fought. He doesn't know what Third World War will be fought with, but the other one will be fought with sticks and stones. It's a good quote, and he's right. Hilariously, he's dead right, because it's not going to be fought yet with nukes. We've done that. We've played that. Strong men don't nuke each other. There's really actually no benefit. Okay, so that's not how the world's going to end. So how does it end? Well, it ends how you want it to. It ends in nihilism or optimism. It ends with either believing in the good or thinking everything is bad. Because I don't think everything is good either, but I do believe in good. I think human good shines through history so obviously. It's imperative. I don't even know how people miss it. And it breaks my heart and soul that others haven't. And my goal of this is just to help other Canadians wake up to this. That this is our country. We get to define what it means to be Canadian. Nobody else, just us. And something important to keep in mind, before I even go on to that point, is that the lines being put out, like the benefits is that our diplomats and leaders are trying to find compromises. They're trying to find more what's in common with us so that they can stop the wars. That is the benefit of it. And if there is someone who hijacks it, you have to understand that we have lots of systems already built into the legal system of it to be involving, and we can arrest that and keep that sanctioned. And the benefit of it, we don't even kill them. We just sanction them, put them on a timeout, and then they can come back if you can play by the rules. Oh, very simple. And it is the world we have. Whether we like it or not, this is the world we got. We can't change that part now. It's over. It's history. That's the way it is. And so what do we want it to look like is the question. And it is for all of us to decide. And I don't even know. If anything, I just want to be a part of the people. I just want to help wake people up. Help Canadians, wake them up. That we're a force for good in the world. Right? Very simply. Even relate to the world order. Why? Well, first of all, if you think America is some evil empire and the UN is just created to, I don't know what, take advantage of poor countries or something, okay. So Africa, Great Britain didn't want to be the world superpower. It was pretty happy to give it up. It's okay. It gave up the world superpower position. America takes the mantle. Why would any African country fucking join that? Think about that. Why would they join that? That doesn't make any sense. Now, I know Ethiopia joined the League of Nations in World War I. Skip them for now. Say you don't trust the Ethiopians. Okay. I'll tell you why. It's because Canada was there. It's because we were there. We're the Northern American. We're like if America is irony of Great Britain, we're irony of them, right? And we can maybe as Canadians can see where they're heading first and warn them. But also too, we have a place on the global stage. And the place on the global stage is to help remind people. And so people know and understand that America, very obviously, is not a continental empire. It has not invaded Canada. It doesn't control even our culture. So it's not like it's communism and they're trying to do it through culture or whatever the fuck. No. We're a free country, and however Canada ends up, whether we're a good nation or a bad nation, it's up to Canada. And when Canada fails, I don't blame anyone else other than us. Yeah. And if I could say one last thing, I think Canadian liberals and Canadians, they all see what's bad about Trump. Okay. My question is, though, my only question for them, it's the same question that we asked the communists and what made them fail. It's the same question. Okay, you think America's so bad then? Well, then what's the liberation you've promised us? It's the same question we posed to them, and it caused all the protests in the Soviet Union. So what is the liberation that these liberals have promised to us? And that's why Polyev is going to win. Because truthfully, they already know it. They can't, there's nothing. Right? Because truthfully, what they should do is stand back on their heels and go, why Canada's so good? But all they've done is talk about how fucking bad we are since Trudeau's era. And so that's it for them. It's a wrap. But I'll be honest, I do think it was kind of purposefully done. I think this is all a bit of an inside corrupt game. I think that the Brits saw where the Americans were going, and Carney was a bank of manager of England, so he saw where they were going, and they sent him over. And Trudeau was kind of a ploy because they saw, like I said, Canadians see where America's going, right? I'm not the only one. They saw they're going towards Trump. Use Trudeau. Trudeau is a joke. Okay, he's a joke. He's never even held a political office. I mean, we lambast fucking Polyev for being like a career politician when Buddy has literally never held. He's a rich. He was just spoiled, you know, and so that's not going to appeal to people, and I think that was done purposely. I have one last final thing, and I'll end it here. The liberals, if I could say one thing why I think this is somewhat orchestrated, at least here in Canada, to a degree. Or at least we saw it coming and prepared ourselves, is that, think about this for a second. Why? Think about this for a second. Yeah, if they could see that, why would they put Trudeau? I think I'll tell you why I put Trudeau in there. Because Trudeau takes the heat for them. He takes the heat. He doesn't have a political career. He can do it, good go, and then that's that. And so he takes the heat for them, and then they just pass everything they want to, because they put all kinds of crazy bills into our law right now. But I think the point is to set lots of legal precedences that they could use in the future in case they needed it. And good, not against that. Not against that necessarily, as long as we win next time. If Conservatives don't win this next election, I'm deeply worried for us, but I'm pretty positive. We all know what's called. Because they have this built-in thing. By March 2027, they're going to bring in the MAID assisted suicide for any grave illness, like not terminal. And that's a horrific thing. And Gen Z, we all should fucking protest if that happens. Because I'll be honest, there are red lines that I draw. And if the government decides that someone's life is not worth it because they have a mental fucking illness, wow, little do they know that they just got deemed as mentally ill themselves, and they're going to be the first victims of that bill. Because what in the hell, like, that's a red line for Canadians, all of Canadians. And so why would they put that? The more interesting question is, why would they put that in their bill? Why would they even put this in the government? I'll tell you why. It's not because they actually plan to use it. It's not because it actually plans to even come into fruition. Because there's still multiple levels that has to be approved at before that. So they didn't really even like set it up so it could. It's never going to be passed. But the point is an expiration date on the government. I don't know. Just from my perspective. I'll share that with you guys. I hope having a great 2026. Optimistic look for the future. Canada's gonna be a bright future for us. And I just want all Canadians to know, and I just want people to know in general that you know, these stories were crafted because it's the same way when the Bible is talking about what heaven is. If you can craft a story that comes into humanity so good, it's so deep on them, and it teaches them a lesson, and it's something they hold dear to them, then you are immortal forever. And you are immortal forever through your actions. But the idea of good, bad, free will, consciousness, all of these things are baked right into us. And so some of the deepest stories are going to cut right between those lines. And so, you know, there's a very good quote about the fall of the Soviet Union, and it's, you know, we walk that line of good and evil through all of our hearts, and we all must define what lines it is, and what lines we're talking about. There are red lines we're allowed to draw. There are certain ones, and I draw them at rights. These are as Canadians, we should never allow that to happen. But it's going to be a bright future for us all, and we have to really shape how conservatism is going to be defined in this new era in Canada, and it's going to be a new millennium for this country, and I'm very excited for it, and I wish you all the very best. Take care.